Good, thank you. Well, good evening. I'll go ahead and call the first Region 7 Virtual Academy Board meeting to order. I'd like to welcome everybody here this evening, our colleagues from Region 7, but as well as my colleagues from Region 8, along with the board members from my colleagues. I'm Terry Arbogast, Superintendent in Giles County, and I'm also the chair for Region 7. Region 7 has been discussing an option for the virtual piece for some time now, and we all realize that we need to develop something moving forward because we're going to need the virtual as we continue into next year and who knows for how long. So I want to thank my colleagues for all the work that they've done to this point working on this endeavor. I want to thank all of our board members that are with us this evening and agreeing to serve in this capacity. And also want to thank our Virginia Virtual K-12 representatives that are here with us this evening also for joining us and sharing information with us. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Stacy for some comments and then the Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you, Dr. Arbogast. I am Chris Stacy. I'm Superintendent of Tazewell County Public Schools. I would also like to welcome our visitors and guests and our board members and fellow superintendents. I don't want to steal anyone's thunder. All the superintendents in all school systems are pretty much in the same boat in that we have all tried to revamp and sometimes rewrite the education system as we know it and add these virtual components this year. Our worlds and our teachers' worlds have truly been rocked, but I think everyone has done their due diligence and done the best that they can. With that being said, my fellow superintendents in Region 7, we have met continuously. We know that we need to improve our virtual system. We know that we need to alleviate some of the workload and some of the stress we've placed upon our teachers. And so that kind of led us to this group. And I don't want to steal anyone's thunder or take any of the words because I know there's going to be other speakers tonight. But I think our goal, I know my goal in entering in this group was truly to have the students' best interests at heart and that we could deliver a viable product, an educational product to our students, but at the same time alleviate the pressure and the burden placed upon our teachers. So I think that's our goal tonight is kind of lead that charge. And I know Dr. Graham, Dr. Perigin, Dr. Arbogast, and all the speakers tonight will go into much greater depth, Dr. Hurt as well. But again, I think, you know, the superintendents, myself, we're excited to be a part of this. And at sometimes I think we may have been in the dark, stumbling a little bit, but our one direction has always been to move forward and to improve our learning system. So I hope that's the goal of everyone tonight. At this time, I'm going to ask Dr. Hurt to place the American flag so that I may lead you in our Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, and I'll turn it back over to Dr. Arbogast.
Thank you, Dr. Stacy. At this time, I'd like to turn it over to Dr. Hurt, Dr. Perigin, and Mr. Graham to do some presentations on behalf of the Region 7 program. First, to give an overview, and then to talk a little bit about the Virtual Virginia Academy overview as well. So with that, I'm not sure which one's going to go first, but I'll turn it over to those three.
All right. Thanks, Dr. Arbogast. And we're excited to have everybody on board. This is an exciting night for Region 7 as we look to do to bring to our region a very innovative solution to a very difficult problem. And so thanks everybody for willing to be here and be a part of that. Dr. Hurt, if you don't mind, go ahead to the next slide. We want to talk about, first of all, why it is that we're doing this. What is our why? And there are several reasons. Dr. Stacy had mentioned some of those, but we definitely want to lighten our teachers' burden. You know, many of us have teachers who are living in two worlds right now. They're living in the virtual world and the in-person world, and they have championed and they've stepped up and they've done a great job with that. But there's no way that they can continue at this pace And it's our job, I think, as school leaders to make sure that we take some of that burden off of them. The other thing, though, is, being small and rural, it's often difficult to staff hard to staff areas. We have a teacher shortage across the nation, and we see that even more in rural areas. This program, this virtual academy, will hopefully lighten that load as well and provide some course programming that we may not be able to provide in our small school divisions. With right now we have 9 school divisions who have joined in. We expect the 10th to come on Monday, and maybe 2 or 3 more in the following weeks. And when you have that many folks coming together, the amount of course offerings that we can provide will grow exponentially. Another thing is we want to prevent the loss of enrollment to multi-divisional online providers and other online opportunities. We have seen a lot of our students across Region 7 enroll in with online providers, and we lose that enrollment, and we also lose contact with those students. But by developing this online program, we can protect those enrollment losses that we've had. And we also, that would mean many of those dollars will stay right in our division. And our high school students, if that's the direction each division wants to take, our high school students can maintain their high school eligibility, and the SOL scores will also remain here in the original division. And so that is the why. There's other reasons as well, but those are the main reasons that we started having these discussions in the first place. Dr. Hurt.
So now we want to talk to you a little bit about the how. How can we provide these kind of services? So we worked with a group of folks over the course of the last few months to kind of put together a plan that we think is fairly scalable. And what we're showing you right here would be based on about 500 students enrolled. So for example, if we had more than 500 students enrolled, like 1,000 students, then we can just duplicate this. So basically what we would do, we would add this every time we had another 500 students enrolled. So you can see there the number of positions needed to serve those 500 kids. And of course, these are pretty well based on standards of quality and standards of accreditation requirements. And then you can see the cost associated with each, and then the cost per full-time student if a school division wanted to send that kid into our virtual program. Now, we do have a proposed budget for the planning for this spring and summer. We do believe that we do need a director or principal to serve in that capacity, and that there will be certain planning expenses that they'll incur, and there's also going to be some administrative fees. So you can see that as well. Keith, I'll turn it back over to you.
Sorry about that. As you know, there's a $10,000 entry fee for each division. There's 9 divisions, so we have that budget covered. If there are additional expenses when the other divisions come in with their money, we would use that money for the additional expenses. However, if there are leftover monies, we will split that money evenly back to divisions if that is indeed the case. The other part of this is when will this all happen? We've kind of been in a hurry to get all this approved so that we're ready to go when school starts next year. Virtual learning may not look like it does now next fall, but now that Pandora's box has been opened, we're not going to shove virtual learning back into it. And I think we all know that. And if we don't, I don't know what the right plan is, but to not have any plan is the worst possible direction that we can take. And so that's the reason that we've started this. And so our goal would be after tonight that we post the position for the principal or the executive director. And then in February, we would actually bring a recommendation to the board to approve. By March, we would want to distribute information and survey students across our divisions to determine how much enrollment we're going to need. And then by late March, early April, we would have applications available to students. In May, we would review those applications and we would hire our teachers. Then by July, we would be doing orientation. And then in August, our Region 7 Virtual Academy would open. Now, the good news about this is because there's so many divisions involved and there are many different start dates amongst those divisions, if our progress were to slow down, there is no problem for us to push that to a post-Labor Day start. So we, even though it feels like we have a lot of pressure to pull this off and get it done, we actually have a little bit more time than is even showed on this timeline. And so I will tell you, you know, we thought from the very beginning that we had a good concept. We knew that there'd be a lot of work to get this pulled off. And we must have really been onto something, because after we started having these conversations, some other even better opportunities began to present themselves. And so with that, I will turn it over to Rob Graham from Radford, who can tell you about some potential opportunities about what this may morph into.
Thank you, Dr. Parrish, and appreciate that, and welcome everybody. I've had the pleasure of actually getting to know Virginia Virtual, folks from there, and on with us tonight we have John Beasley and Suzanne Sloan, who are going to speak on what their programs offer too. But they reached out to us in early August to see if we would partner with them to provide some virtual opportunities, not only for our students in Radford City, but for also students that are outside of Radford City, what we call non-residents students. So in working with them on one evening, I was meeting with Suzanne and you know, going over what the things that were good, that were going good with us in Radford City, and the things that we felt like needed improvements, which was not many. And then I started to discuss this idea of our that Keith and Chris and Matt have talked about our regional virtual academy, and really sparked an interest in Suzanne. And you know, we got to the point where what if we, because one of the things that we've talked about as a superintendent region is how difficult it's going to be to start this from the ground up. And so why not work with somebody who's had 20 years of experience in doing remote learning, virtual learning, to come in and help provide support for what we're trying to accomplish with this mission. So grateful for the opportunity to work with Virginia Virtual, which is their overall organization is K-12 Academy, which I'm sure you've heard of too. But in looking at this, they really have offered us a good product. And you heard Keith and Chris and Matt talk about how difficult it is for our staff. And it is. And Keith talked about 2 platforms. I'm gonna give you 4. Right now we have students who come back that are face-to-face 4 days a week. We have students that are 2 days a week on Monday, Thursday, students that are 2 days a week on Tuesday, Friday, and then we have fully remote students. So our teachers are really, really struggling. So to have somebody come in and provide a platform of remote instruction just for those students is really going to allow our teachers that want to teach face-to-face the opportunity to get back to what they were doing best. And those who want to go virtual, Virginia Virtual is also offering the opportunity for those folks to come and work for them too. So that's exciting as well. So the way that this would work is, if we decide to do this or if you all as a board decide to do this, we would want to take, we are identified with a formula that they use for what are called non-resident slots. And those are students from outside of our division. So right now, Radford City has about 850 students from outside of Radford City, from Virginia Beach to Northern Virginia to Central Virginia, Southwest Virginia. And we're allowed to have up to, I think it was close to 1,100 of those, but we only took 1,000. Now we're at about 850, but you can see down in the slide, the bottom of the slide there, those are non-resident slots based upon a formula that Virginia Virtual has. The ones that are in parentheses are actually the ones who can't take, but we're such a close region and get along so well with each other that we want to provide support to everybody for this. So we have enough slots that we think that we'll be able to provide for all those students who want to go completely remote next year for our residential students. We're looking at maybe, I think we were thinking close to 5,000. And then you can see in the right-hand column there, and John's going to talk to you a little bit about the agreement that he sent me today. But right now, if we were to take 5,000 non-resident students in the region, then our residential students would be charged $2,300 in K through 5 and $2,700 in 6 through 12. For those divisions that have a blocking schedule, it'd be about a $450 class, more per class for those blockings. blocking schedules. So that would be, the rest of that would come to us, our ADM. So we wouldn't be losing any ADM. We'd be paying them $2,300 or $2,700 per student. And that would, we would get the rest of the ADM. Those of us who have slots for non-residential students would also get a 5.5 administrative fee for those students. So we could actually make some money for each of those divisions that have those slots. And even really something that I found extremely interesting and certainly really like the idea of is having Dr. Hurt work with VII. And if we were to do that and have his partnership then and got over 5,000 non-resident students, then VII would provide us with $50,000. If we got more than 6,000, it'd go up to 75, and then 7,000, you can see it'd be 100,000. So that is very good for us. We know the CIP program has done such good stuff for us and really put us on the map as far as one of the top regions in scoring on our SOL. So that would allow us to do a lot of things with the CIP program too. Why VII? VIVA's been in this virtual business now for 20 years. They have a wonderful staff. One of the great things about Virginia Virtual is their staff. Most of their staff is from Southwest Virginia. Their principal of the high school is a former Auburn, Montgomery County guy. Their assessment directors used to be the principal at Montgomery County and Blacksburg. Suzanne Sloan, who's the superintendent of the school, of the virtual school, is a actual board member in Fauquier County, so she knows about the public school system. So with their experience and the staff that they bring, I think they provide us a wonderful opportunity for a strong partnership, and would, first of all, really enhance this program, this virtual academy. But secondly, it would take a lot of work off of many of us, many of the superintendents, many of you board members who have agreed to do that. So, and having said that, if it's okay, Keith, I'd like to turn it over to John and Suzanne and kind of hear from them.
Yes, sir. Rob, I think you cover everything very well. The only thing just to make sure board members are clear, what we're approving tonight is the original plan that you're aware of, with us doing our own work. This is really a what if that we will be considering between now and our next board meeting. So, you know, we're not springing anything new on you tonight. We are approving our regional academy as been presented to you, but this is another option that could be even better for us for two reasons. Number one, it takes the work off of us. The work is already done, and the per pupil cost is less. So more of that ADM money will stay back in the original division. Rob may have said that, but I said it probably just a little different way. And yeah, with Rob, that whenever they're ready, I think we're ready.
John, you wanna go first?
But I need to unmute. Berrigan, you're not the only one that does that. You know, what I find sometimes in some of our team meetings that people will just mute me and not tell me that muted me. No, really. I know where I still a practicing school administrator, some of my staff would definitely have done that in this virtual world. Thank you for the opportunity. It's and greetings from actually from suburban Birmingham tonight, visiting with my daughter and son-in-law. And but I live and worked for I live in Southeast Alabama, Eufaula. I'm sure everyone on the call knows exactly where that is. I want to just tell you a little bit about my background with K-12, and recently our corporate name has changed to Stride to reflect a move into the post-secondary world, in addition to the kindergarten through 12th grade world. About 7 years ago, we began the Alabama Virtual Academy. We partnered with K-12 to do the Alabama Virtual Academy, and we were the very first in Alabama virtual school, and took lots of shots from superintendents, from the Department of Ed and so forth. My role was to make sure we did it as right as possible. And to make a very long story short, we started year one, we had 56, I think, students, and they were second graders of all things. And I could not get my mind around how you can educate a second grader virtually, but it took about 15 minutes of watching a class and oh yeah, it works. And it works in a big way. And that has since grown to just a few kids south of 3,000 for this current school year. Alabama has added a second virtual academy, if you will, through a partnership with Stride down in the Mobile area. And that's booming as well. Our interest was, of course, times were different and we didn't have to worry about COVID and, you know, all the retaining enrollment and that kind of thing. But in a sense, did have to worry about retaining enrollment because we were losing kids to homeschool. That was, you know, private school was not a thing, but homeschool was just bleeding us over time. So that was our motivation for getting into the thing. The money that the district made was really an afterthought in my mind. And that has turned into something way more than an afterthought. I retired 2 years ago, and that year the cash found money is what I call it. The cash back to our district was just a little over 1.5 million. Now, and that's big money, and we were able to do some really cool things. I know athletics are not big in your community, but they are ridiculous in Alabama. That's, you know, if you don't win in football, if you're a football coach and you don't win in football, you need to go somewhere else to coach. And I know in my high school principal life, I always said that if we had a winning football and basketball season, my entire year was better. I mean, everything, no, people didn't complain about the bathrooms smelling or any of that stuff. And I know y'all don't have to deal with that kind of thing, but that's just the reality in Southeast Alabama and in Nick Saban country and that kind of thing. But we built, with some of the revenue that we generated, we built a really nice state-of-the-art indoor multi-sport athletic facility. And it is a showcase, holy jamoly. We added staff to do some really neat things for kids. And we bought a lot of technology with that money. So that's how it benefited us. Now, Rob's slide a few minutes ago, and Rob, I had planned on talking about the details of the contract, but I don't think there's any need to, because really when you have shared the Radford agreement with the Region 7 people. There are a few differences in the Region 7 draft agreement and the one that Radford City has in place today. And mostly those differences have to do with this blended model that we're talking about plugging into this, which I think is it's really innovative and really cutting edge. Though it caused quite a stir in our company, quite frankly. And I was on a call related to something that's going on in Tennessee today, and that came up. What we're talking about with Region 7 came up on a Tennessee call. So you guys are getting some recognition across the Southeast and probably going to across the country with this kind of partnership. But this is one of those rare situations where you guys win and our company wins. I mean, and the kids win. And that's the big thing. You're addressing a need for kids. You're taking some pressure off of teachers, And as Rob said, we've been doing it for 20 years. We're really, really good at it. This year, we're serving right at 200,000 students across, I think, in 35 states. And Suzanne, you have a bunch of them right there in the VII situation. So that's kind of where we are. We're excited about this partnership. There's just so many pieces of it, potential partnership, that there's so many pieces of it that are exciting. One, the opportunity to work with multiple school divisions, the opportunity to do a blended program across multiple divisions, and the opportunity to plug all that into a successful existing program involving. So it's pretty awesome from our perspective. And I don't know, I wish we could get contracts signed tonight. I know we can't, but and I know, you know, each board member, but basically how this is going to work from our end, if you choose to go this route, and I certainly hope you do, there will be, I think I heard the number 9 and possibly 10 divisions on board. There will be, each division will have an agreement very, very similar to what Radford City has. And then in addition to that, the consortium, which is what I'm calling it, will have a master agreement that fleshes out all the details of how the blended piece works. There was lots of internal discussion about how to do that, and that seems to be everybody's, really it's semantics. It doesn't matter which way we go, how it shakes out. The end result is going to be the same. So, and Rob, there are some tweaks. Know
Sure.
that.
Sure.
And there's some things that are not quite worded clearly like they should be. For example, the pricing on the, I think it's in section 7.5 in the draft I sent you, is going to talk about the pricing, the $2,300 per student, you know, and that kind of thing. And the way it's worded, it sounds like that's almost a semester cost. But in talking with my boss again to clarify what he said to y'all on that very first call, his intent was that is an annual cost based on semester courses. So
That's correct.
okay.
And so for Rob, you can add to this too, but for all the superintendents and school board members on here, everybody will get a copy of the local division MOU to look at, and the Region 7 Virtual Academy MOU to look at. And Rob is going to be vetting that with their attorney in Radford, who is already well versed on this program already.
Let me clarify one thing before I
Sure.
Hush. And you made me think of it, Dr. Perrigan. The MOU itself is not ready because, I mean, it's going to get into things like, and this is where we're going to need your help. It's going to get into things like, how do we enroll students in our system to keep them on your roll to, so you guys will retain the ADM revenue for those students, to things like, when we do it that way, how do we in turn get you the grade information for grade reports and transcripts and that kind of thing? So there are just tons of little details and the nuances surrounding special ed kids, because that's a whole nother for those kids. Now, in the basic agreement where the division agrees to take out of division students, non-resident students in that statewide model, special ed services will be provided clearly for those kids. And Suzanne can talk about how that works. Okay.
Thank you, John.
Yes, sir.
And Suzanne, before I get to you, just want to, I forgot to add this, and I know board members and superintendents would like to hear this too. So if we do choose to move this way, in the near future, and again, we're just voting on the academy tonight, like Dr. Perry just said, but if we do move this way and we do have non-residents and residential students, our residential students that are served remotely by VII qualify for VHSL extracurricular activities. So even though they may not be in the brick and mortar facility that we have face-to-face learning, they would be eligible for to play, football or basketball or volleyball or things of that nature, and that would be up to the discretion of the superintendent to allow that or not. So that's another plus for us. You can't allow homeschool students to participate, but these virtual students would be able to. Now, if they were to strictly join VII on their own without the partnership that we're presenting tonight, they wouldn't be able to participate. But through the multi-online provider and the guidelines and regulations from the Virginia High School League, I've spoken with both Dr. Hahn and Tom Dolan that we would be allowed to have that opportunity. So that's also exciting. So Suzanne Sloan is the director of, or more superintendent of the online portion of VIVA. So Suzanne, you have a little bit more information for us?
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I love the winning. Alabama aren't the only winners. We got some winners down in Southwest Virginia too. So I saw some people going, what are you talking about? We got some good sports down there too. Thank you, John. Thank you, Rob. It's been great to work with you since I guess it was late summer that we chatted, but we've been working really formally together since October 1st when we joined forces with the Academy. I have slides for reference that I will send to you, but nobody at 7 o'clock in the evening probably wants to see a long PowerPoint presentation, but in there, what you'll see, and please feel free to share with board members or others, is a link to what John alluded to with our name change. I was a teacher in Manassas City for 12 years. Before I was recruited to a startup company called K-12, which I had no idea what it was back in 2001. And I don't think anybody knew what online education was back then. And maybe now a lot of us know too much about it and want to move it over to the side and get back to what we know we can do well, which is face-to-face learning. But I have been with K-12 for 20 years, and we began our Virginia Virtual Academy right in the Southwest area with some students at a place you may be familiar with called the Joy Ranch facility, where we were working on assisting students who were out of their homes and in need of an online education, and also some help with being able to deliver that instruction and not have to bus those children into the traditional school across town for a good variety of reasons that made a lot of sense. And from there, we had this entrepreneurial idea that, hey, maybe if we could do this for this group of students, maybe we could do this all across the Commonwealth. And so went forward with the legislation, had the great fortune of having the General Assembly and the governor agree with us, and began in the 2009-2010 season starting school year starting statewide online education. And even then, people didn't really understand what it was and kind of thought, how do people learn this way? And so with 20 years of experience coming, as Rob and I had a great meal together in Christiansburg a few months ago, we started thinking, wait a minute, it was that kind of that same conversation. If we can do this statewide for kids, couldn't we be also doing something regionally for those kids who want to participate in sports and cheerleading and theater and drama and arts and all of those things in their school division, but also want that comfort and that for many reasons why they might want to be working at home and doing their virtual schooling that way. And I think you all know that probably many students, as you reopen in the fall, will likely return to face-to-face 5 days a week online learning, hoping everything comes in and our governor and legislators are supporting that and the vaccine is available and everybody's healthy. But we'll always have some students, maybe even more students than you would have thought, who will want to continue in this online world where they're really excelling. And it's a very hard lift on you and on your teachers. I bet this is one of the hardest years you've ever had as a superintendent or a school board member. I can tell you in my second term as a board member, this has been the hardest, even including the election years. It's been a challenge. And why has it been so hard? Because you've been trying to do both. As Rob mentioned, there are kids coming in 2 days a week. There's some coming in 1 day a week. There's some virtual kids. There's people that want to come 5 days a week. And it's too much to handle. And it's very stressful on your teachers and your principals. And so why not form a regional academy where you could focus solely on the needs of those virtual students and let the rest of your staff get back to doing what they know well and have done well for decades and decades. And so that's where we come in. I know there will be a lot of details to work out. As John alluded to, the MOU is where I come into play. The Power School and the special education services, and how do we issue diplomas, and how do we do block schedule, and what time do we teach Algebra 2 and make sure that the students are in the right grouping. That's what I've had the pleasure of doing for the last 10 years. And in the Virginia Virtual Academy. And I also helped open schools across the country in Utah, California, Oregon, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Ohio, Chicago, and have watched the movement from students who want to have that blended approach. We have a great school that we've been working with students in Chicago for pregnant teens who come in and really have that opportunity to be able to have schooling at home while they're caring for the child. People that are students that are working, kids that are already in the workforce in 10th and 11th grade and being able to do this. And so it's with that experience that I hope you will consider letting us help you. As John said, it is really a win-win, and I'm really looking forward to it. I think this could be revolutionary, and where else should we be doing it but Region 7, which is, nobody heard me, the best region. My husband, born and raised, third generation Floyd County, and went to school, UVA-Wise, and you will be happy to know my son was accepted to UVA-Wise. He's a senior in high school and is pondering. He's between that and Radford, and then he's got one out of state one that he's looking at that mom went to. So we'll see if what he decides on. But it would be just really great to come home. I have 212 employees, and I think I have 89 that live in Southwest Virginia. So we'd be coming home if we came to work with you all. And thank you for the time, and thanks, Rob, for the partnership so far.
Thanks, Suzanne. And I just want to say one other thing before I turn it back over to Keith. We have I think close to 11 students that were part of Virginia Virtual before we got our partnership and came back to us. And we've checked in with those students periodically through the year, and they've just had a wonderful experience with the whole program. So we were thrilled to hear that too. So thank you, Suzanne, for that and taking care of that. You know, one of the things that we talked about was doing what's right by students. And that's why I got into this business. That's probably why everybody got into this business. And I think as hard as it is for teachers to have multiple platforms, I think it's also hard for our children to have multiple platforms. So if they can just focus on one avenue, I think it would just be that much better for everybody. And I'm not trying to sell Virginia Virtual. I'm trying to sell the opportunity not to have to do what we did this year and have our children face-to-face, virtual, asynchronous, synchronous, and things of that nature. I just think there's a much better opportunity. So Keith, I'll turn that back over to you.
Thanks, Rob. Thanks, Suzanne. And thanks, Mr. Beasley. You know, there's always a backstory. The real reason this conversation come up is because when Radford started working with K-12, he took so many of our students from the other schools in Region 7 and got our enrollment up in Radford that he felt guilty and knew that he had to do something to make it up to all of us. And you'll see the other superintendents nodding their head because we all experienced that transcript request from Radford City Schools from a student that we knew was still living across the street. So Rob, this is at least a good way to make it up to all your colleagues here in Southwest Virginia.
Well, when I asked Suzanne what the drawbacks were by being a partner, the only drawback she said was your superintendents are going to hate you.
So, really with that, Dr. Arbogast, I think we, Chris and you and Matt and Rob and I would be open to some questions. I think it would be best to answer questions about the actual Region 7 Academy and save any questions that we have about VII until after the superintendents have had an opportunity to look over the MOU in case that is a direction that we decide to go.
I agree. So we'll ask, are there any questions from any board members out there that want to talk about the Region 7 program or ask about the Region 7 program?
I have one question, if you don't mind. So the goal is to vote on this, the Region 7 program tonight. When would we be making a decision of whether we go with Virtual Virginia or not? Is that for the next month's meeting?
Yes, sir, Mr. Ray, Dr. Ray. At the February meeting, we anticipate doing two things. Number one would be hiring a director for Region 7 to oversee things if we stay in this format. And then number two, considering if we want to go into partnership with VII. And if that is the case, that director then would serve as the liaison between Region 7 and VII as we make that transition.
Okay.
Great question.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else have any other questions they'd like to ask at this time? All right, I'm not hearing anything else. So thank you, Dr. Parrish and Dr. Hurt and Mr. Graham for presenting the information on both the Region 7 program and the Virginia Virtual Academy. Suzanne and John, thank you all for being here and sharing information as well. So I'm gonna move on with the action items. Keith,
Doctor, if I can just jump in, there may be a recommendation to add an agenda item. You may know that already, but just wanted to make sure.
Did not know that, but what do we need? What do we need to add to the agenda?
We need to have a and Dr. Ray is willing, but we need to part of the academy and talking with our attorneys is we need to have legal counsel. We need to have legal counsel separate from our divisions, but to serve as legal counsel for our academy, right, Jody?
Yeah. So I don't know if it's a motion at this point to amend the agenda to add the selection of legal counsel to it.
We need to add a J under action items to approve legal counsel for the Region 7 Virtual Academy. Okay, I'll add that to the agenda.
Dr. Arbogast, that would best go after the fiscal agent is chosen.
Gotcha. That's fine. Okay. All right. Moving along with the action items, then we'll move on to the selection of a board chair for the Region 7 Virtual Academy. So at this time, I'll open the floor up for any nominations for the board chair.
I think one of the board members was going to nominate Dr. Paul Grinstead if one of the board members wanted to do that.
That's what I thought. I'm waiting on it to come from the board members.
Mr. Chair, this is Becky from Pulaski. I'd like to make a motion to nominate Dr. Paul Grinstead for board chair.
Thank you. We've got a nomination on the floor. Not hearing any others at this time, I don't believe. I've not heard any. Do we have a second for that nomination?
I'll second it. This is Irene Mullins from Tazewell County.
Got a second. Thank you, Ms. Mullins. With that, all those in favor of Dr. Grinstead being the board chair, I guess signify by aye or raising the hand, I guess, one or the other.
Aye.
That sounded unanimous. Thank you. And congratulations, Dr. Grindstad. I'm going to turn it over to you and let you proceed through the rest of the action items there.
Okay, thank you. Can you hear me? I'm on my cell phone.
Yes, sir.
Okay, need to open up for nomination for vice chair. I hear a nomination. Do everyone would like? Becky, you're on the other end of our district. Would you be interested in the vice chair?
I'd be happy to.
Okay. Would a member like to move for Becky to be selected as vice chair?
I'll make a motion for Becky to be selected as vice chair. This is Irene Mullins from Caswell.
Okay, thank you, Irene. Do we have any other nominations? Okay, do we move to elect her by acclamation? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, thank you, Becky. Okay,
You're welcome.
selection of a clerk. Bristol's clerk, Tammy Jones, is willing to serve in that capacity. Do we have a nomination to select Tammy Jones?
I make a motion to select Tammy Jones as the clerk. This is
Have a
Irene
second?
Mullins.
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, next on our agenda, we need to adopt Robert's Rules of Order as our model parliamentary procedure. Do I have a motion?
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to adopt Robert's Rules of Order as the model for parliamentary procedure.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, now we need to appoint the executive committee. This is the superintendents or designees participating in our divisions. I need a motion, please. Again, this is for the appointment of executive committee.
I'll make a motion to appoint the executive committee.
Have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Approve the fiscal agent, Radford, has agreed to serve as in this capacity. And I need a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve for Radford to serve as the physical agent.
Okay, and I have a second.
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 Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, and then we added to our agenda, which is approve our legal representation, legal counsel. Do I have a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to have Rodney Young from Timberlake Smith Attorneys at Law represent us as legal counsel.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, we need to adopt a policy manual, which is a reference policy manual. And I need a motion.
I make a motion to adopt the policy manual from Radford for our Region 7.
Okay, have a second?
Second.
Second.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, on our H, we need to approve the budget for planning phase. That's to approve the $90,000 for the remainder of this year. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion to approve the budget of 90,000 for the planning phase.
The second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And we need to approve posting of the director position. And this will be posted by Radford. Do I have a motion?
Make a motion to post the position of the director for Region 7 virtual school.
Okay, a second.
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 Okay, all in favor, say aye.
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 Okay, thank you. Now let's look at our future business items. Our next meeting is being proposed for the 25th of February at 6:30. Is that acceptable to everyone?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Aye.
Okay, need to post other positions in our next meeting. And we need to plan for the enrollment process. And we need to add the new policies that address the specifics of this program. Is there any other questions or additions to the new business for next meeting?
If I may, Dr. Chair, one of the
Yes.
things that Mr. Young had advised me on too, and I forgot to talk to Dr. Perigin and Matt and Chris and Dr. RBS on this is bylaws and those types of things need to be developed as well.
Okay. And
Thank you. Sorry to interrupt.
no, that's okay. Thank you.
May I
Okay,
ask
so we need to, yes.
May I ask a question about the director position? How will that be handled? I know the posting will come from Radford, but what about the interviewing and so forth? How will that go?
The executive committee that you just appointed will, members of the executive committee will conduct the interviews and bring a recommendation for hire at the February board meeting.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay,
was-
Dr. Perigin, you'll be sending this information on the posting of positions and the enrollment process and the new policies, correct?
We will keep all board members up to date, and between now and February, you should have plenty of information to chew on.
Okay, thank you.
This is a
have-
full-time position with VRS and everything, correct?
Yes, it is. If we continue in this format, it would be a VRS position into the future. If we do decide at our next meeting to move in with VII, VII would agree to take that position over as a liaison onto their payroll. That's the way we've been looking at it at this point. There's another potential that we've been looking at that would keep them on VRS, but those details have yet to be worked out, and really no need to do that since we've not made a decision to go with VIV at this point.
Okay, thank you. And the other question I had for future business, do we need to put the VAVA discussion on there?
Dr. Ray, I would agree with that. Good.
That should be added.
Okay. Is there any other future business items we need to add to our list?
Will the director be hired at the next meeting? Do we need to have that director position hired at the next February meeting?
Yes, ma'am. It looks like Matt is adding that as we speak.
Okay. Any other items we need to add? Okay, if not, I'd like to say thank you to everybody tonight and appreciate your vote. And do I have a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second,
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Okay, we're adjourned, and thanks, everybody, and be safe.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night. Thanks,
Thanks
everybody.
so much. Good night, everybody.
Night.